Welcome into another edition of Game Changers. Mike Cunha alongside Steve Goldstein. We're missing one of our partners in crime here, Ken Bocamper. He's in a better place right now. No, I mean, he's still with us and all that stuff, but he's with Mike McDaniel taping the Coach Show.
That's not better than being here with us.
It might be.
I'd rather be here with you, Cunha.
All right, well.
Yeah, started off with a nicety.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Guess what else is here? Football. Football is finally back.
Yeah,
That's
baby.
right. Look at that throw. Where
That's
did that
the hands
from?
right there.
Literally fell out
Uncle
of the sky.
Leo with the nice toss, just like Tua. He thread the needle.
Better spiral than Dak Prescott coming out of Leo, big Dallas Cowboy fan. There you go. Nice catch. Yes, we've got football back. We have to talk about the Dolphins because obviously on Sunday things get going against the Jags.
Finally.
First of all, do you think they win that game?
Sure.
Okay, just want to get the early
Mike
prediction.
McDaniel doesn't lose early in the season, doesn't lose at Hard Rock Stadium, so he's not losing early in the season at Hard Rock Stadium.
Okay, there you go.
How's
Fair
that?
enough. Fair enough. All right, but let's get to some serious predictions. So go ahead.
Well, that was a serious prediction.
Get your whiteboards. Well, I'm talking about long term.
Oh, you're getting right off the bat.
I'm going right off the bat.
I'm going to leave this ball right here. Is that okay?
We'll leave it right there.
But you know, it's his show, so I got to ask permission.
It is my show.
Okay, I got my whiteboard ready. What's the...
Okay, Goldie, I want to know.
Yeah.
With all the hype and expectations coming into the year with the Miami Dolphins, with all the new contracts, with all the money they're throwing around, with Stephen Ross himself saying this team can be a Super Bowl contender.
Okay.
What do you think the Dolphins' record's going to be, and where does their season end, maybe more importantly?
Well, I do think they are a Super Bowl contender.
Yes.
I mean, they flat out are. Law of average, this now a third straight year of being a legitimate playoff team. I think finally they just get some breaks and they're healthy at the end of the year. Because the last 2 years they haven't been healthy. If they were healthy, maybe things go a little bit differently. The home game against Buffalo, the game 2 years ago on the road in the playoffs against Buffalo. So I am going to say, with a tough schedule late in the season, I admit that, I agree with you on that, the Miami Dolphins win themselves 11 games, but the season ends in Baltimore. I think the Ravens... They've been knocking on the door a couple of years. Everyone thought they were going to go last year. They lost the home game in the playoffs.
Sure.
I'm going to say AFC title game. Dolphins win the division.
Yep.
They get to the title game, but the Ravens win that AFC championship game, so the season ends in Baltimore. 1, likely 2. That's right, I said it. Playoff wins for the Dolphins this year.
So if the season were to end in Baltimore, that would likely mean that the Dolphins are going into Kansas City and exacting some revenge, you would think?
You know, I didn't get that far into it. Maybe the Ravens take care of it. Maybe the Chiefs get upset early in the play. I'm going law of average. Okay. Either way, I think the Dolphins finally get a home game at Hard Rock. They win that game. They win another one, wherever it is, and they go to the AFC title game. That's what I'm going with.
All right, I like it. I think the Dolphins are going to be close to AFC title winners. My only problem is, again, the end of the season. I will harp on that until I'm blue in the face. But in terms of where I think the Dolphins are going to end up, I'm going to go 2 wins short of you. 10-7,
okay.
And an earlier loss in the playoffs, but they finally get the 24-year curse off their back.
Dude, they win the division at 10-7. I got them winning the division. You think another wild card?
I'm not sure 10 wins the division.
Me neither. That's why it's 11-6.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it does. But listen, I think there are so many factors with this team. And you mentioned injuries and finally getting lucky and maybe healthy at the end of the year. I think they're going to have some luck play into this for them to at least have a roster that can stand up to someone in the playoffs, because the last 2 years they have not. And I'll give them credit for what they did in Buffalo a couple of years ago. They could have won that game. If Tua played, they'd probably win that game.
They also should have won the regular season game in Buffalo late in the year.
Yeah, I mean, we can go down the line there. But I think
one of the biggest games of the year is just 7 days from now when Buffalo comes in next Thursday.
I know. It's
a huge game.
It is crazy that they're going to play 2 games in 5 days this early. And, you know, and we talk about the injuries and Jalen Phillips and getting all into that. How do you think that plays out? Because, you know, we heard Mike McDaniel basically allude to some sort of snap count or pitch count that he's going to have in game 1. Are you worried about his usage and man, what, do you think they not play him every game? How do you think they deal with that?
I think these guys all play every game, but you look at Tyreek, there's going to be no force feeding the football to Tyreek. If it's 1,400 yards instead of 18, it is what it is. If it's 100 catches instead of 119 like he had the last couple years, it is what it is. The bottom line is this team has started great the last couple of years, 3-0, 8-3, and 9-3. For all sorts of reasons, it hasn't gone their way late in the year. What they need to do in the first 10 weeks of the season, first 12 weeks, is get to that point again.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean if you got 50 points, you need to score 70. And I'm not saying, sitting guys out for games, but you got to make sure everybody's healthy when money time comes. I think we're going to see it a little bit different. I think Mike McDaniel, first of all, they're going to spread the football around more simply because they have more weapons with Jonnu Smith and Jalen Wright. And I know a lot of people now with the Odell stuff thinking Odell never plays a game for a Dolphin. I don't buy that.
I don't think it matters.
I thought he had 10, 12 games probably in him anyway. And that's what they need him for. They need him for late in the season. So I think they spread the ball around more. I do think Phillips take it a little bit slowly because they need to be healthy and ready when the season ends. And the last couple of years, they haven't been. In last year, neither Tyreek Hill nor Jalen Waddle was healthy at the end of the season. So I think we're seeing all of that. We've seen it in training camp. These preseason games, Mike, if Jalen Waddle, if it was regular season, he would have been playing. He's going to play on Sunday. He's going to play in week 1, didn't play in the preseason. So I think all of that, it's no longer a sprint for this team. They know they're good enough. They're a legitimate playoff team. It's now a marathon.
But to win some of these early games with the injuries on defense, you think they have to become greatest show on turf? Do you think they'll just go completely offense, have the offense carry them for the first month of the season?
I don't think they need to do that. I mean, I think the defense is going to be. No, I think the defense is going to be good enough. Look,
I don't think the defense is going to be bad once everyone's healthy.
You're not going to need 40 points these first 4 games to win 2 or 3 of them in every game.
Right.
I think they get off to a 3-1 start.
Okay.
Something like that. Look, there's some tough games. Jacksonville's a good team.
Right.
They're motivated. They missed the playoffs last year. They finished the season 1-4. Buffalo, we all know, going out to Seattle's never easy. We all know, unfortunately, you can lose to Tennessee at home on a Monday night. So these aren't easy games. No. And then New England before the bye week. So I don't think they need to score 1 million points to win those games. I mean, look, Allen and Lawrence, terrific quarterbacks. After that, the next 3, all things being equal, you're looking at Geno Smith, you're looking at Will Levis, you're looking at Jacoby Brissett or Drake May in New England. Not brutal. You give
the edge to Miami. That's true. All right, I'll give you that. You're not worried about the opposing offense. I just thought, maybe, hey, if the defense isn't healthy, just go out there and air raid them.
Hey, that would be more. If it's 38-35 at Hard Rock Sunday afternoon, that's terrific. Fun. I'm not complaining about it.
All right, still to come, Cam Ward setting the college football world on fire after 1 week. Who's the last great quarterback Miami has seen? We'll
great question, Michael.
Nice catch, by the way. Welcome back to Game Changers. Goldie's getting ready for the next segment.
This is a first I believe it's a first.
Right.
Mike Cunio, who's the organizer of the show, the creator of the show, as I often say, we're going double whiteboards.
Double whiteboards.
Is that accurate? So I got to erase my
you've got to erase whatever.
AFC Championship. You've never done double whiteboard, I don't think.
No.
So they're coming back next segment.
This is what happens when Bo's not here. We have a little bit too much fun because,
Oh, there's another cheap shot at him. Okay.
There's no cheap shot.
Hey, when you're not here.
You're not here.
You get the cheap shots.
Yeah.
You guys rip me. You put my picture on the set when I'm out with the Panthers. Or
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, you travel so much, it's like you want to get away from us. All right, Cam
5
Ward,
weeks, I'm out of here.
Cam Ward and the Hurricanes going to make their Miami debut this Saturday against Florida A&M. Cam Ward, Goldie, you got people talking Heisman. You got people talking playoffs. Best Hurricanes team since, 01, 02, 03. There's a lot of positivity going around this Miami program where we haven't seen it in years. In fact, you can even make an argument the last 2 years it may have been a low point. But from what you've seen out of Cam Ward and what he did to the Florida Gators, got me thinking, when was the last time Miami had a really good quarterback? Cam Ward's the best quarterback since who?
Well, there have been some talented quarterbacks.
Yes.
Let's not throw every quarterback the last 20 years under the bus.
No.
There's been coaching. There's been talent level around them. There's a lot of different reasons.
Sure.
The University of Miami hasn't won as much as a lot of fans, all fans, want them to win. It's not all the quarterback. But I'm not a big I told you so guy, but I'm going to do it here. I told you so. We talked about Cam Ward. I didn't need last week's game up at the Swamp in Gainesville to know what this guy could do because we've seen him do it.
Right.
He's not a freshman. He was at Washington. He was a dominant runner, passer at that school, at Washington State, without even close to the athletes and the talent level that he now has around him. So it did not surprise. The final score surprised me. I thought the Canes would win. I thought they'd win by about 10 points, 12 points maybe. The fact that they just hammered the Gators.
And it could have been worse.
It maybe says more about the Gators, but we'll find that out as the season goes on. So I didn't need that game to tell me, yes, Mike Cugno, it's one game. It's a blowout game. So what? He played maybe half the snaps were really important. I'm going to be that guy. He's the best quarterback since Ken Dorsey. I'm going to be that guy after 1 week. Yes,
you know what? I don't blame you for saying that because he's Jim Kelly. But Ken Dorsey obviously had the most success. I think he lost 2 or 3 games as a starter.
He had the only success over the last 2 decades.
He has.
Not the most.
I'll go back not as far. In fact, it's a little bit more recent history for me with Derek King. It's more of what could have been with him.
A lot of talent.
He had a lot of talent.
Billy Napier wishes he had him.
He got hurt, obviously. I mean, I remember Florida State coming in to Hard Rock Stadium. Jalen Phillips was on that team, absolutely blowing them out. He was a really good quarterback. He was really good at Houston. I mean, he was a Heisman candidate for a little while too. Like you just think what could have been. Stephen Morris had maybe the strongest arm we've ever seen from a Miami quarterback. So there's been some good ones, but I think if not Derek King, I'll go back with you on Ken Dorsey. Obviously, I think that's the easy answer. It's probably sometimes the easy answer is the right answer.
So now you're ripping me for taking the easy way?
No, I said sometimes the easy answer is the right answer. There's no ripping. You want to rip some people? Let's rip some people. Who has it worse right now, Florida or Florida State? Who's in more trouble?
Well, that's a great question. I'm going to still say the Gators.
Yeah. Really?
It looks a little messy there. Coach kind of losing it a little bit up there in Gainesville with the comments. The fans are all over him. Florida State, and again, I'll make the comment I made to you last week. If you're going to sue the conference, you need to win some games, okay?
Yeah.
They haven't, they've lost 3 in a row?
3 in a row.
Yeah. I think the Gator program is in more trouble. I think Florida State gets a little bit of a pass.
Do you really?
Because of what they did last year. Because BC, people say whatever they want, and look, Florida State should win the home games.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien, there was a lot of hopes at Boston College this year that Bill O'Brien was coming in, establishing some things. They played a great game. I'm not going to totally rip Mike Norvell and Florida State for losing that game. I think BC is going to end up an 8-9 win team, maybe more this year. I think BC is a good team. That's my personal opinion. But what's going on in Gainesville with the Gators haven't won a game in almost a year.
Yeah.
Like in the Swamp, they've been getting blown out. They didn't win last year.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a long stretch.
Right.
So I'm going to say Florida's in worse shape, and neither team has a very good quarterback, it seems.
No.
So you got a problem for both of them, certainly.
What did Nick Saban say? If you pay the wrong guy, you're going to be bleep out of luck. Florida State probably feeling that way. Now, I'm going to lean Florida State, and the only reason why is because I've only seen Florida play 1 game. And Miami, obviously the better team. They probably would have done that to 95% of the teams in the country. But Florida State, when you are double-digit favorites against 2 teams, and you lose both of them, and it's not even just the quarterback play. And yes, DJ Uyunglele is missing wide-open guys in the end zone. It's the defense, too. The 200 yards on the ground to Boston College.
BC can run it, man.
But not to take anything away from Boston College running 200.
I think you are taking something away from Boston College.
I'm not. When I'm taking away something from Florida State, even in that game, you hear the announcers talking about this is a defensive line that NFL scouts say have first-round talent all over the place, NFL talent all over the place. They can't stop anybody. Boston College or Georgia Tech. So when we talk about, FSU paid the wrong quarterback or their NIL people paid the wrong quarterback, however you want to phrase it, well, what's going on with the defensive line? The defense isn't stopping anyone either. So to me, I see more glaring issues there. I think Florida probably has more talent than Florida State right now. It's just, and DJ and Lagway. their quarterback, the freshman, the 5-star, if he comes in and lights it up.
If the Florida Gators are going to win 3 games max this year.
Yeah.
Max. At the most, it's going to be a 3-win season.
But I think they will get more of a pass at the end because...
Not if they win 3 games, they're not.
Because of the schedule.
Yeah, you go up there to those Gator fans and tell them they should have a pass.
Florida State's got an easier schedule.
I think Florida State's still going to win some games.
I think they do.
They got a little more confidence in the Noles.
I think they do too, but I think they...
Plus all that pressure building on the Gators and Billy Napier. Once you start taking on...
The fans.
That's
that look.
And you start taking on people on social... Players and coaches in college and professional sports should never even go there.
Right.
Like... I'll use Mike McDaniel as a small example.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel he didn't even know Tyreek Hill and Noah Lyles. They were challenging,
Right.
Mike McDaniel pays no attention. That's the smart thing to do. Once you start going there, paying attention what fans are saying on social media, you're already fighting an uphill battle. You're already wasting time and energy.
Right.
What you should be doing is working on your game plans and your team.
Don't attack the customers. Rule number
It's
one.
You gain nothing and you can't win.
Right.
Fighting the fans and fighting the media, you're not going to win.
No. All right. The internet won this week. Bill Belichick's on Instagram. We're going to talk about that next. Welcome back to Game Changers. I think, Goldie, we buried the lead here in terms of stories. We're already in the 3rd block, and we haven't mentioned that Bill Belichick is on Instagram. For whatever reason, he finally decided to join the rest of the world. Some of his former players, like Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, they're having a lot of fun with the fact that he's now on IG, as the kids are saying. Cannot wait. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I've joined InstaFace. Yep, there he goes. That's about right up Bill Belichick's lane there. It's kind of cool to see him joining it. He is on TV now. He's joined the media ranks since leaving coaching last year. So this got me thinking, Goldie, if you can go back in time and maybe have a former player or former coach hop on Instagram or have Instagram available to them when you were watching them, when you were a kid, who would be that player or coach?
Well, here's what I'm going to go with because he was always so fired up.
Yeah.
Very hard on teammates. Doesn't like the criticism too much. I feel like this guy would have responded to criticism publicly if it existed at the time. Plus, there would have just been so much cool video from Dan Marino.
Okay.
Now Dan could be on social media now, and he is, but I don't think he's very active on it.
Right.
But I think back in the day, I'm thinking about having somebody with him shooting those walk-ins to the Orange Bowl on a Sunday.
Him and Snowflake.
Some stuff with the movies, stuff with Duper and Clayton, and then you get some fans after a bad game going at him.
Yeah.
I don't think Dan Marino could have resisted saying, why don't you come out here and try to throw the football? Let's see who can throw it better.
I think he would have had. I think he would have had a field day.
Right. So I'm going to go with Dan Marino.
And I mentioned Snowflake because as we were talking to Mike McDaniel during the preseason, he was a big fan of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
He was, yes.
So, and big Dan Marino fan because of that. So I think they would have had a lot of fun with that. I'm with you. I'm going to go the college ranks.
Okay.
And this guy I absolutely loved whenever he was in front of a microphone. Mike Leach. Rest in peace.
Wow. Interesting.
Now, Instagram was around when he was around.
Some people watching may have to look up Mike Leach, but go ahead.
Look up Mike Leach, and for all the things he went viral for, I wish he had an Instagram.
Right. Roll Tide.
Right, Roll Tide. Like him breaking down mascot fights and whether Bigfoot existed or aliens or how to handle a wedding.
He was an entertaining guy.
Absolutely. I mean, and he was just a massive football brain on him in terms of football. I think, talk about a guy I wish was still around today. Definitely gone too soon because he was so entertaining to watch. I just wish he had gotten that Instagram.
Yeah, I was kind of also thinking about Michael Jordan in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because if there was social media then, with the circus when Jordan came into the NBA, which a lot of people may not even remember, and we obviously, most of us, I think, watched The Last Dance. Yeah. If some of that stuff was available in real time, it certainly would have been interesting. You talk about somebody in that mode of Dan Marino as far as a competitor. if Michael Jordan had something to say and it was like right there at his fingertips, I don't think he could have resisted either. He was tough as nails.
You know what? That's a good point too, because I think the NBA guys in particular really have the social media thing on lock. I think they probably do it better than anyone else. I mean, everyone eats up every time LeBron sends out an emoji, it's headline news everywhere. So yes, that's a good call. All right, still to come on Game Changers, the Stanley Cup has made an appearance. Where is it next? Going to be in South Florida. We find out. Welcome back to Game Changers. The Stanley Cup continues to make its round before we head into the regular season here for the NHL regular season for the Panthers here. Excuse me. And it was at Grand Oaks this morning with Phil Pritchard, the keeper of the cup.
Look at that.
And the guy who got to have the day with it is Johnny Congemi, the son of our very own Dolphins analyst, John Congemi. Johnny is an assistant video coach for the Cats. There he is, hoisting the cup above his head at Grand Oaks, going to play a little 18 holes there with Dad. There's John,
Big John,
looking good.
Let me tell you, Mike, nobody works harder than John Congemi. Oh, look, Samantha. I hope that's a little pineapple juice or apple juice or something.
Get the whiteboards out. Let's figure out what Samantha was drinking out of the cup.
Hey, I love. See, the beauty of the Stanley Cup is all those guys get it. John Congemi, okay, and video guys in general. They are stuck. They're working 18 hours a day. They're breaking stuff down. Every time I walk on the bus, even after a game, he's on his computer doing video, flying off to the next place. This guy works so hard, and the Panthers have been, I think, the best team in the league probably at winning those coaches' challenges. Yeah. John Congemi notices some things. Remember that hand pass a couple of years ago in the playoffs?
Yep, on the faceoff.
Just incredible work, and I love seeing a guy like that get that Stanley Cup for a day.
His name's on the cup.
That's great.
And if you ever pay attention to Paul Maurice's press conferences, Johnny typically gets a mention at some point every game.
You know, those are the guys that say, challenge that. Right. And in the moment, the coach has to trust the guy, and Paul Maurice trusts him. There's some water.
Water?
All right, Samantha's very responsible.
Who knows? That's Game Changers.
No, it was a bottle of water.
I'm sure.
Way to go, Samantha. Very responsible.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
You wouldn't have been as responsible.
No.